Hello, I'm Andrew Wright. Welcome to the second of two lower level free samples of my Andrew Wright English courses. These will help you to speak an excellent standard English. Hi again, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening. Thank you for joining me on this second short sample lesson from the lower level of my Andrew Wright English program. You're very welcome to be here. I hope you have watched the first sample session because I gave quite a lot of advice there on what you can expect in my courses and how I expect you to use the study material. If you didn't look at this first one, please will you do so now before you continue with this one. You can, of course, also find the other samples of middle and higher level courses to watch later. Before I start the first grammar topic, I'm going to remind you to follow the method I described in sample 1. That is, play the film up to the marker, stop the film, speak the sentence as closely as possible to my voice, and listen to your own voice as carefully as possible. Play the recording again as often as you need. Okay, this first grammar topic is one of the most important for any new or older student of English. It's on the subject of short forms or contractions. Other languages also have these, and they can be confusing, especially at the beginning of your studies, so it's a good idea to look at them straight away. They are usually only found in spoken English. I mean English that we speak. In other words, we don't normally use contractions if we are writing. In fact, it's true to say that we nearly always use a contracted or short form wherever possible when speaking. The other thing to note is that contractions are almost always and only used with auxiliary or helping verbs, but don't try to remember that at the moment. Let me give you one of the most common examples of a contraction. I'm not hungry, thank you. In full English, we'd say, I am not hungry, thank you. You can hear what happened. Now, if I explain it, we lose the letter A from the word am and run the I and the M together to create a new version, I'm. When you look at the printed notes, you'll see that this is written with a little mark between the two letters I and M, called an apostrophe, but more detail on that in the courses. Now, to show you how common these contractions are, I'm going to look back at the last section again to show you how many of these I actually used here. I said we'd say, which would be we would say in full English. I said you'll see, which would be you will see in full English. I said I'm going to look back instead of I am again in full English. And in fact, I just said to you which would twice, often in speech, which should be. Some of these can be a little difficult to say to start with, but you'll find them easier in time, and you really do need to learn them all if you want to speak really naturally. But not all right now, of course. Just have a try at these examples of everyday contractions together with the full English versions. There are basically two different types. One of these you hear almost always if someone is saying something negative, such as he isn't here instead of he is not here. What you heard is simply that we kick out the O from the word not and make it nt. Then we put the two words together, isn't. And you can find this in lots of situations, like we aren't going on holiday this year instead of we are not going, etc. Also, by the way, you can hear we're not going on holiday this year in this case, but don't worry about that now. You can't say that to me instead of you can not or cannot, which we also say sometimes. Didn't they buy a new car last year instead of did they not buy a new car last year? And many other examples later in the courses. The second type of contraction is between a noun or pronoun and an auxiliary verb, such as be, have, and do. Again, don't worry about the terms for now. There's a contraction. Don't for do not. And another one, there's for there is. Both of these are very common. Everyday examples of this type could be, I've no idea what you're talking about. Two in the same sentence, instead of I have no idea what you are talking about. John's gone to the library, instead of John has gone to the library. She'd like a new computer, for she would like a new computer. We've just come home, instead of we have just come home. Here's the hotel, for here is the hotel. How are you doing? For how are you doing? Who's the best tennis player in the world? Instead of who is the best, etc. And finally, I'm stupid. No, you're not. For I am stupid, and no, you are not. Right, let's move on. Let's is a short form of let us, by the way, to another subject for a change. In every lesson of the lower courses, I'll practice with you the basic sounds of English. In fact, the first lesson in the lower level introductory course is filled with practice of the basic sounds for you to work on, because this will clearly make all the later work you do easier. You can find a full set of examples of the basic English language sounds in nearly every good standard English textbook. But for now, we'll look at our first two together today as examples. These are the letters B and P. These letters are two of the consonant letters. Just a quick explanation of that term consonant before we go on. There are 26 letters in the English alphabet, the full collection of letters in the English language. There are 5 main vowels, A, E, I, O, and U, and sometimes Y. And all the others are called consonants. So B, C, D, F, G, and so on through to Z. But back to B and P. The basic difference between these two in normal use is the way you push the air out through your mouth, and if the noise you make with your voice box comes before or after opening your lips. Watch me. B is with voice or voiced. P is no voice or unvoiced. Some other letters work in the same way. Z in American English or Z in British English are voiced, whereas C is unvoiced. D is voiced, T is unvoiced. V and F work in a similar way, voiced and unvoiced. Back to B and P. Here are a few examples where the rest of the word is exactly the same except for the first letter. Bull is a noun, an animal, a female cow. For example, we have 3 bulls on our farm. To pull is a verb, an action word. For example, please will you pull the cork out of that bottle? Number 2, blank is an adjective meaning empty. For example, my mind, my brain is completely blank. Plank is a noun meaning a long piece of wood. Example, I need 36 planks to build a garage. And finally, to bet is a verb meaning to put money on a chance. For example, I don't ever bet more than £5. Pet is a noun, an animal you keep at home. For example, when I was young, we had lots of pets. That gives you an idea of how we're going to make sure you are clear on each of the individual sounds we use in English. So keep practicing. Now, as I mentioned practicing, have you practiced speaking everything up to here? If not, please do it now. Follow the method I've already given. Well, again, I've almost come to the end of this short sample film of my lessons, and I hope it helped you to see if this is your level or if you could try a higher level. Don't forget, even for higher level students, this material is perfectly useful for practicing or perfecting your speaking. Not all higher level conversations have longer or more complicated words, although the grammar may be more demanding. Every word you practice will help build the quality and fluency of your total English store. Also, I hoped that you've practiced my method, that you've enjoyed doing it, and that you'll try the other free samples, even if they may be above your grammar level. Speaking practice is still speaking practice. And always, please, don't forget to hit the like button down here, subscribe to my Andrew Wright English channel, and kindly tell your English needing friends about me. Thanks for visiting, and my best wishes for your future English. This was Andrew Wright presenting a sample lesson from Andrew Wright English. And don't forget to copy, 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 right to the end. Again, thanks for watching, and bye for now.